Welcome in, everybody. Happy Wednesday. You are watching the Ryan D. Leaf Show, usually hosted by the one and only Ryan Leaf. However, today, Ryan is away. I am your host, Sky Guasco, joined, as always, by Jonathan Rifkin and Charlie Moss. As well, we're going to have some fun today. Ladies and gentlemen, I am fit proper, feeling real nice today, fitting in the commish spot. We are going through the mock draft of the NFL round one. All 32 picks, Charlie, Jonathan, and myself have taken the time to go through each one of the picks and divvy out how we feel the draft is going to go in the first round and what we would do if we were those particular GMs. Once again, I'm your host sitting in for Ryan Leaf. My name is Sky Guasco with Charlie Moss and Jonathan Rifkin. We do have some aliases today, which I think is super fun, and I'm ready to go. Boys, are you ready to get into this mock draft of the NFL round one?
We're not without Ryan D. Leaf. If you look in that right corner, I do believe that the name plaque says Ryan D. Leaf. So as far as I'm concerned, the crew is here for the draft day on a Wednesday.
We're all here today. All here today. We're ready to talk draft.
I don't know where Charlie Moss is. I haven't seen that kid anywhere, but
fair enough. So coming at you live, I am your host and the commish for today, Skylar A. Smith, joined, of course, by Adam Rifter and Ryan D. Leaf. Not like a tree. Ryan D. Leaf in the bottom corner. We're going to have some fun today. Ryan is out. He will be back on Friday. Stepping in the big seat today. Usually, Jonathan takes the helm, but he decided to pass the keys over for a show. So I'm happy to be with you and very, very excited. I do want to open just for a couple of minutes here, and we'll get into our mock draft again. We do have a question of the day. Let's jump into that early here so we can get everything rolling. Question of the day: who do you want your team to draft in round one? Please indicate the team and the pick for us. That'd be helpful. Again, we're going to go through all 32 picks. Who do you want your team to draft? Again, I'm a 49ers fan, but I have two mindsets of this. I have what I think the team should do, and I have what I want them to do as a fan. So jump in the comment section. You know how we do this. Tell your friends and family that we're doing this for the next hour. I want to talk quickly about players attending the draft this year in Cleveland. So there are a number of players who are attending the draft. I have it scrolling here on the bottom. Just quickly, a handful of the names. Offensive players: QB Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Kyle Pitts, Rashawn Slater. One name you don't see on there, though, is Trevor Lawrence, who we all feel will be going number one to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, interesting for him to sit out as the almost guaranteed number one pick, deciding to be home. We saw this happen with Myles Garrett a few years ago. And Ryan mentioned on the show a while back that he actually commends these players for staying at home. And maybe he would have done things differently if he could redo 1998-99 when he was drafted as well. I feel the same way. If I were, now look, when I was, 20 years old, 21, 22 years old, I had a totally different mindset, of course. But nowadays, if I were to be drafted today, I would certainly be home, COVID or not. In COVID times, certainly I would stay home with my family and celebrate with the comfort of my home, with my family members and the people that have helped me through this process from Pop Warner into middle school, into high school, and all the way into college and now the professional ranks. But if I'm 19, 20 years old, I understand the flashiness. I understand dressing up and looking all fly, walking across that stage, getting the hug from the commish, holding up the jersey. I understand all of those things. But I do believe that I would personally probably stick behind. There's a handful of defenders also looking to attend the draft. Christian Barrymore, Gregory Rousseau, Micah Parsons, Patrick Surtain. Now, another name you don't see in the defensive group is Caleb Farley, one of my favorite picks in this entire draft. Cornerback out of Virginia Tech. We'll talk about him in a little bit when we get to the mock. He was a close proximity to someone that tested positive for COVID. So he was going to attend the draft, and now he cannot because in lead to him heading to Cleveland and being a part of the NFL draft in person, he didn't test positive. He was in close proximity with somebody that did test positive. Therefore, he is not able to make the trip. I'm hoping that we can have this draft in person in Cleveland and everybody comes out of it healthy and clean, but I'm concerned that it won't be that way. We canceled the draft last year because of this. Hopefully this year with everybody getting tested and staying clean the last couple of months. Hopefully it will work out in a better way. But it's going to be interesting. And one thing that I have to think to myself is these players attending the draft, I would imagine they have some sort of phone call, some sort of intuition that they're going to be a first-round pick. Day one is tomorrow. Thursday evening, NFL draft kicks off with the round one. And I would have to imagine that these players that are attending, or set to attend, I should say, we still have 24 hours, but set to attend the NFL draft, are planning to be round one picks. It would be rough to be there, have your name fall out of the first round, which we have seen time and time again. Players fall out of the first round into day two, and you're maybe the last one standing. So it's going to be interesting. I'm wondering what Jonathan and Charlie would do in their own situation. Boys, before we get into this mock draft, we've talked about this briefly a couple weeks ago with Ryan, but now we've had a few weeks to see this unravel. The energy's high. We just kind of went through our pre-production meeting, getting the mock draft ready. Like, I'm pretty amped up for this mock draft, and I'm just doing the mock draft. Could you imagine being one of these players? Your dream is about to come true. You know you're going to get drafted, probably day one, a first-round draft pick of the NFL. Most of these guys will be immediate impact players and starters for their franchises. Would you stay home and be with your family and be with the people close to you that helped you and guided you and supported you all the way from day one? Or are you going to go to the draft, get that first hug, as Ryan has said multiple times? The first hug and celebration you get in the NFL is from the commissioner, Roger Goodell, who, as Ryan puts it, you'll probably never see again as an NFL player unless you're on the negative side of things and you're in trouble. What would you guys want to do personally? Would you go to the draft and celebrate in person if you're invited? Or even if you were invited, like a Trevor Lawrence, would you opt out and choose to stay home? Jonathan, go first.
Do I have the pre-existing knowledge that the draft is just for show?
I mean, it's whatever it is. I mean, the draft is what the draft is these days.
Right, but like if I thought that it was like, oh, this is, you know, an experience where I'm going to get to meet the commissioner and make all these connections and blah, 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 and I go and I don't have that experience, or in hindsight, that experience doesn't bring what I expected it to, I'd be disappointed. However, if I knew after having these conversations that the draft was only really a gimmick to get ad spots filled and seats and tickets sold and to get people in the door, and it was really just a marketing scheme, I'd probably go, because for me, on a personal level, if I'm an athlete and I'm working my ass off all throughout my life, like at the peak of my life, I'm working the hardest I'll ever work because of what's happening in front of me, right? And so if I put all that time and effort and I had that passion to do it, I want to be able to be celebrated, and I want to celebrate me, and having a place of structure to do that where you're meeting, because again, like, kids dream of getting their name called and being at the draft for it. So if it's a gimmick, then it's a gimmick. And if I'm aware that it's a gimmick, it's about me then, and fine, I'm going to go and I'm going to be part of the gimmick, but it's going to be a great ass time, and it's going to be a memory that I'm going to have, and whatever, like, I'll experience the highs of my career after that with my family. And if I ever see the commissioner again, then great. And if I don't, then I don't. But that night, that's like my bar mitzvah, right? My bar mitzvah is the greatest day of my childhood, because as soon as I ran out for the party and everybody was in a circle and I was high-fiving everybody, like, that was the greatest moment, because it was all about me. And I know that sounds selfish, but I think all of us in some way want that experience. And so that's why I would go to the draft.
Fair enough. Charlie?
Yeah, I definitely see both sides of it. Like Jonathan was saying, the draft is such an experience that every kid dreams about when they're younger, and hearing their name called and go on stage, it must be a surreal moment. But at the same time, I'm someone who, like, I want to spend very impactful moments of my life with the people that I love and care about, and who have been there with me since day one. Again, like, going to the draft sounds incredible, and I would love to do it. But if it was my decision,
sounds so selfish.
No, I don't. I don't. I'm just saying my point of it, because again, I like the whole gimmick too. On my bar mitzvah, I loved having all the attention. Everyone's like, "Go, Charlie."
But the other thing you loved was that there were people that you loved were all in one place. I get that.
But yes, but again, but at the same time, when you're at the draft, yes, you have your immediate family there, but there's a lot of people who aren't necessarily the close ones that have been there for you your whole life, haven't seen you put the hard work, haven't seen your struggle. So I think, I just really think being at home with your family and your close friends would just be such an amazing experience to share the great news together. And I think that's probably what I would go with. Again, super hard to pass up going to Draft Town and going through the whole gimmick, as you guys were saying, because it looks so much fun. I just think it's more memorable to do it with your loved ones, because those are the ones who have been with you since day one.
Now, does the quarantine and COVID times change anything? Like if this is 5 years ago, COVID doesn't exist and you can go and be safe and everything would be fine, would that change your attitude at all? Or are you strictly kind of wanting to be home to be home?
If I was getting drafted this year, I would stay home.
Yeah,
This
I
year,
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Last year, this year, like I think if with the pandemic going on, I would stay home.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Okay. Otherwise, though, you would most likely make the trip, Jonathan.
Otherwise, I would most likely make the trip.
Yeah, Charlie, you too. I'm into it as well. I think it'd be a lot of fun. Obviously, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be at that event. And we've heard Ryan talk about his Heisman night and that weekend, and very rarely does he actually talk about the ceremony itself. He talks about the weekend and everything building up to it and kind of the aftermath of the final few weeks and hanging out with everybody and meeting all these people. And I think that part of things is attractive to me for the NFL draft. And that one little 15-second clip of you walking across the stage, giving the hug, putting on the hat, holding the jersey, taking the picture, leaving, getting Dion to interview you quick. That would be awesome. But I think everything else around it.
I think for us it's different because I think Ryan's desensitized to the performance, right? Like Ryan, from the moment that he stepped on a college campus, even in high school, he was recruited by some of the best schools in the nation, but he ended up going to Washington State because of Mike Price and the coaching staff there. Like he was in the spotlight. He was having all of those. That was happening in his life, right? So I think that by the time he was drafted, he was desensitized to the gimmick of it and was just sort of entrenched in the other stuff, right? If I was a nobody and I was taken in the 7th round from Division II, Grand Valley State University, and I grinded my entire life and I'm finally getting my name called, like I guess you can't really go to the draft if you're a 7th round pick. Okay, I'm in the 2nd round and the Patriots are picking me and I'm at a D2. Who did they take? Lenore Ryn last year, right? Yeah, I'm from Lenore Ryn and like nobody's ever heard of me and I've been grinding all my life and like I'm not going to make an ass about it. Like that's an experience that I would want to cherish. And so I think it's just perceived differently for athletes who are desensitized to it and then athletes who have never been a part of something like that before.
Yeah, like Ryan's been there, done that. He's been through this opportunity before. So I guess looking back on it, he's such a different view than we have. And at the same time, like we've never been in this position before. So it's hard for us to actually know what we would do if we had the opportunity. Of course, we could say what we want right now. I think everything's a lot different when given the chance.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting because Ryan does have very unique perspectives being there and literally going through this years ago. And yes, he's maybe desensitized at this point of his life, but you flash back 20 years ago, he's in the thick of things, right? And I think his perspective is always a lot of fun. And again, I mean, we're just doing mock drafts, right? We're behind the screen kind of, studying everybody and really getting into this. And it's been very interesting to go through this process. I'm pretty fired up. So very excited to get into this. And we do have a full mock draft. Once again, let's get to the question of the day. Who do you want your team to draft in round 1? So not necessarily what you think the team is going to do. Be selfish for a second. Who do you want your team to draft in round 1? Again, please indicate the team and the pick. We do have a lot to get into, but we do have a handful of sponsors to give a shout out to today. Per usual, when Ryan's not here, we divvy up the responsibilities and the shout outs. So I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan Rifkin here. And one thing that all these players have in common, whether they're at home or they're at the draft day, is they're all looking fly.
That's facts. I mean, you're looking fly. Quickly here, before we get to the ad read, Art Via asks if there's a watch party. We are planning to have a draft watch party tomorrow night. It's going to be on YouTube. We're going to kind of push it more on Ryan's Twitter. Try to start getting the followers to merge over to Twitter. And when you have 70,000 followers on Twitter and 600 subscribers on YouTube, you got to really play your odds with that one. So there will be a live draft party tomorrow during the draft. Very excited for it. The big boss man, Ryan D. Leaf, LDAF, like the tree, will be back for that one. All right. But without further ado, if you want to look like the boss man, over which I suck at, my spatial awareness is terrible, like this guy, then go on and grab some Sunfair, folks. I'm a tank. Like, I am working out probably 3 hours a day now when I'm not sitting here in front of a camera or cutting clips for the big boss man or calling games. And I love to eat. I mean, I love to eat. The problem is I don't have a lot of time. And there's a conflict of interest right there. But Sunfair, they solve that conflict of interest for me. They bring me custom personalized meals. It's calorie counted. It's really good. From you get your protein, you get your veggies, you get your fruits at times, and they really space it out throughout the day. So it fits into your schedule. Go through the sign up process on sunfair.com. Once you get to the enter your information page, you need to make sure that you select Carl Farrow as your sales representative and let them know that you heard about them from the Ryan D. Leaf Show, exclusive to the LA and Phoenix areas. I mean, if you hit me up and you're not in those areas, I'll get your Sunfair for you, and I'll get our frat boy in residence to messenger bike it over to wherever you are. He's pretty flexible, and I heard he can ride a bike really quickly. I could see he wishes that he had a bat right now, so he could swat that away, but he doesn't. So if you want to look like this guy right here, and you want to eat right, definitely hit up Sunfair at sunfair.com. Tell them you heard about them from the RDL show. All right, Sky, you're about to be back in the big box.
All right. We have been waiting long enough. We've been repping this particular episode for a long time. We have a mock draft of all 32 picks for the NFL draft. Skylar A. Smith, Adam Rifter, and Ryan D. Leaf ready to get into this for you. We're going to alternate. So we have an order here. We're going to give Jonathan the honors to go number 1. Charlie will go number 2. I will go number 3, and then we will keep rotating. We have accompanied a couple of trades. We have some trades going on here, and of course, we're going to get through all 32 picks in the first round. Again, question of the day: who do you want your team to pick? Gentlemen, I got spiffed up for the show. I was great for the opportunity. I'm very excited to host, playing commish for about 20 minutes, but I have to say, not much of a time, man. I want to throw it down.
It's GM time.
I want to get back. I want to get back into the driver's seat. Let's get into this. So we are ready to go here. We do have the NFL mock draft round 1. Without any further ado, we have 32 names to get through, boys. Let's try to keep this somewhat condensed. We do have 32 names. There's more to say about some players, less to say about others. Some of these guys, defenders, maybe offensive linemen and things, aren't in the mass media, so maybe they're less advertised, so we can give a shout out to them. Of course, not many question marks up here at the top, but let's get this kicked off here. Jonathan, we'll turn it to you. Let's go with the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. Who are we going with?
I wish we had that music where it goes like, my roommate is a prodigy at the keyboard. I should have him record it for us for the future. Anyways, with the first pick in this year 2021 NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Davis Mills.
Panay Sewell. No, I'm kidding. Trevor Lawrence out of Clemson. Do we really need to go into this? I feel like everybody has been bombarded. We've fed a hungry horse already, or a full horse at this point. So I don't think that we really need to talk too much about this pick.
All right, Trevor Lawrence seems pretty obvious up at the top. People in Jacksonville are already paying money to his and his wife's registry for his wedding. He is donating to the city of Jacksonville. Ryan thinks he's had the contract for a couple of weeks. He's probably already studying the playbook and talking to Urban Meyer routinely in their DMs. So let's line it up. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback Clemson. No surprise there. Number 2, Charlie Moss, you're on the clock. New York Football Jets.
Yeah, we got the Jets going with Zach Wilson out of BYU. I know a lot of times on the show, Ryan has said that Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft, but everything is just pointing to Zach Wilson going to New York. The odds, I think on like FanDuel or DraftKings, he's like -800 or -1,000. he's mobile. He knows what he's doing. He has experience. So that's where he'll be landing.
I like this pick. It makes the most sense. I listened to Adam Schefter podcast, and Adam Schefter has already texted. He put this out on NFL Live or something. He was talking to Mike Greenberg, and he has already texted Zach Wilson, welcome to New York. So I would imagine that an insider has some sort of scoop on that. Zach Wilson looks to be going to the Jets. We'll see if he can help turn around that franchise that unfortunately washed out Sam Darnold. All right, I'm number 3, and you know what, boys? I appreciate the hosting role. I'm gonna put this at a try box. I kind of like this for what we're doing in particular right now. So I'm gonna go with the number 3 pick here. These are my 49ers. Again, this is kind of a fan choice. This is against the grain from what the mass media is doing right now. Basically, everyone's told you it's Mac Jones, it's Trey Lance. I'm going to take my second best quarterback in this draft behind Trevor Lawrence. And if I'm the GM, I'm John Lynch of the 49ers. I'm going with Justin Fields. I think there's a slim chance that Justin Fields could actually go to the Jets at number 2. If that happens, then I'm going to take Zach Wilson. But as it falls, we're picking from Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. I'm going to go with number 3, Justin Fields. Different skill set from Jimmy Garoppolo. I know everybody thinks it's going to be Mac Jones or Trey Lance. I just kind of am wishing it to be Justin Fields, but I think he fits the scheme well. I think he's got the mobility, the strong arm, the awareness, played great competition for a longer period of time than Mac Jones. If it's my franchise, I'm going to go with Justin Fields at number 3, which puts Jonathan back on the clock at number 4 with the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, and everybody's been talking about how number 4. This is the pick, the Falcons, that is going to really dictate the next 5 to 6 picks probably. They could trade out. I think if they're going to take a lineman in real life, they're going to trade out because why would you take a lineman at 4 when you can get another lineman at a later opportunity when you could also get value for that pick back? However, I do think that Kyle Pitts is so good, and he could be a transcendent tight end. Atlanta likes to do this. I think it gives another target to a much needed an offense that needs a fruitful wide receiving core for Matt Ryan. So I think that they take Kyle Pitts.
That's a great move. Makes sense with Julio Jones most likely out the door either on draft day, at least with a contract. Julio Jones is not going to leave Atlanta until after June 1st due to dead cap and money and things that we can talk about another time. But Julio Jones most likely leaving Atlanta either this year or next. And Kyle Pitts is another great pass catcher who is a hybrid wide receiver at that tight end position. Jonathan, I think that's a great pick if they don't trade out of this pick. But I think the thoughts of them going quarterback aren't as popular as they once were. Okay, Charlie, you are number 5 here, my man. You have the Cincinnati Bengals. Who you got?
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about the Bengals reuniting Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, but I just think that at the end of the day, the Bengals need to protect their boy Joey B. So I believe the Bengals will be going with Penei Sewell.
Penei Sewell out of Oregon. Makes the most sense. This is interesting here because a lot of people, you mentioned Jamar Chase, and honestly, if Kyle Pitts falls, he's kind of in the mix as well. I think this is the best franchise move, but if the Cincinnati Bengals believe that they can get another top left tackle later in the draft, which there are 2 or 3, 4 of them that we all think are very high picks as well. If they feel that they can get another one of these guys later in the draft and swap out of that pick or go with Jamar Chase and move back up, then that could be very, very interesting with the dynamic playmaking ability of Jamar Chase, who absolutely dominated with Joe Burrow 2 years ago. Jamar Chase did opt out of 2020, but he was absolutely on fire with that national championship team, outproducing his teammate Justin Jefferson, who set all sorts of rookie records last year in Minnesota. Okay, I'm up number 6 here. I am going to make this easy. I'm going to go with Jamar Chase with him being available. I have another mock draft on the personal side. Again, this is a group mock draft, so we work together on this. I have a separate mock draft personally where I actually kind of like the Bengals to take Jamar Chase, risk it on another tackle later on, and then having Penei Sewell fall at this number 6 pick, but I've actually got them making a trade, which we did not exercise in this mock draft, but it would be very interesting if Penei Sewell were to link up with former teammate at Oregon, Justin Herbert, and have the Chargers trade up. We'll see what happens. But for the sake of this mock, Penei Sewell goes at 5. I'm going to make it easy with Jamar Chase getting another weapon with Tua Tagovailoa at Miami Dolphins. Jonathan, you're back on the clock here at number 7, Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I mean, if Chase is taken already, they need a wide receiver. I think Devontae, it's going to be Waddle or Smith. They're both different people. I don't know why people are so high on Jalen Waddle. Dude broke his foot last year and tried to play on it. Like,
okay, but you can't say they shouldn't be high on him. He was a stud before he got hurt.
He is a stud. I'm worried about the injury too, but outside of the injury, he's a beast.
Well, hold on. Let me finish my thought, please. Thank you, Charlie, disrupting my process. I guess you're Ryan D. Leaf today, so I can't shit on you as much.
Yeah, I'm your boss. I'm your boss.
Oh God, the world. It's April Fool's again. Okay, so I think that Waddle's really good, but he's limited tape. All the tangibles are there, but Devontae Smith was a consistent product in an offense that spread the ball. Like, it wasn't like he was just getting 80% of the usage through the air. Like, this offense spread the ball, and he was still putting up big numbers against some of the best defenses in the nation, right? And he did it when it mattered. That was the biggest thing. So I just think that I don't know why he's falling. I get he's a little undersized, but he's also a massive human being. Like, he's a big boy. He is strong. So I think that Devontae Smith goes to Detroit. I know that everybody's saying, again, Jalen Waddle is better. I don't see it. I think he's still a top 15 pick in this draft, as we'll get to later. But I think Devontae goes ahead of Waddle.
That's an interesting pick. And again, I think in NFL circles, I'm hearing that a lot of teams appreciate the speed and overall game-wrecking ability of Jalen Waddle. I don't think that takes away from Devontae Smith. I just think it's about team need and what style receiver do they want. Devontae Smith, I think, is a better all-around receiver because he can play multiple positions, which I do think helps a team like Detroit that just lost Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, and they're going to need him to slot all over the field versus having a Jalen Waddle that is not a one-trick pony. He's much more than that. But instead of just a burner, Devontae Smith, I think, can add a lot more work. People have kind of compared him loosely to a Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods hybrid, if you will, which, of course, was Jared Goff's previous receiving duo with the Rams. So now that he's with the Lions, Devontae Smith maybe makes a little bit more sense there. Jonathan at number 7, Devontae Smith to the Lions. Charlie, you're back on the clock. Number 8, Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I have the Panthers going with Patrick Surtain, cornerback out of Alabama. I think for the most part, I mean, we just saw that the Panthers traded Teddy Bridgewater to the Broncos, so I don't really think they're going to take a quarterback. They got Sammy D there, McCaffrey coming back. They got DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. So the receiving core is pretty solid. I guess they could draft an O-line, but their defense stunk last year, so they need some help. And Patrick Surtain's the best cornerback in the league and a lockdown defender who I think will be very helpful for them next year.
I think that's a great call. And if you had missed it for some reason, we did have breaking news, if you will, right before we jumped on the show here today that Teddy Bridgewater, formerly of the Carolina Panthers, has been traded to the Denver Broncos for a 6th-round pick. I thought that was kind of cheap for Teddy Two Gloves, only a 6th-round pick, but Carolina clearly is all in on Sam Darnold, which we expected when they brought him over a few weeks ago. But it's wheels up for the Panthers there on offense, and I think that they definitely need help in the secondary. Patrick Surtain seems to be the consensus number 1 cornerback in this draft out of Alabama. All right, I've got number 9 here. I'm going to go with another defender. We've been all offense up until Patrick Surtain. I'm going to go with another defender with the Denver Broncos here. Again, I was thinking about making a trade potentially because they need a quarterback with Drew Lock and all that. But right before we got on the show, they ended up taking in Teddy Bridgewater. So we kind of changed up the mock draft a little bit. I'm going to stick here with one of my favorite defensive players in this entire draft, middle linebacker Micah Parsons out of Penn State. Penn State traditionally has had some incredible middle linebackers and kind of second layer backers in general. And I do think that Micah Parsons can really solidify a young defense that's improving in the secondary. You still have Von Miller up front, Bradley Chubb. So hopefully they can do well on the front and get Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock to compete enough to get the most out of that offensive side of the ball. So I'll go with Micah Parsons, middle linebacker out of Penn State for the Denver Broncos. Okay, Jonathan, before you make this pick here, we have been straight through 1 through 9. Actually, let me get a quick recap here just to just to get going here. So number 1, Trevor Lawrence to Jacksonville. Number 2, Zach Wilson to the Jets. Number 3, Justin Fields to the Niners. 4, Atlanta Falcons, Kyle Pitts. Number 5, Penei Sewell to the Bengals. 6, Jamar Chase to the Dolphins. Lions take Devontae Smith. Panthers take Patrick Surtain, and the Broncos take Micah Parsons. So far, we have played it straight. However, we are going to account for what we think might be a trade or two in this draft. Jonathan, you are on the clock with the Dallas Cowboys at number 10. The floor is yours, my man. What do you want to do?
Yeah, so I think that there's going to be a trade here, as you just beautifully set up for me. Sky, sorry, I'm just getting my affairs in order here behind the scenes. Okay, so I think that the Patriots need to move up. We have 3 quarterbacks taken in Fields, Wilson, and Lawrence. Trey Lance is too good not to be taken here, so I think that they trade with Dallas to this pick, and they take North Dakota State University quarterback Trey Lance. They try to work him into that offense. Throw him behind Cam Newton for a season. That could be fun. Go get some speedsters in the offseason next year and unleash this guy, because he has probably the highest ceiling in terms of talent or potential stat stuffers of all the guys in this draft. So that's where I think what I think could happen if Lance does fall this far down.
There you go. So
if Lance was available.
The Dallas Cowboys and New England Patriots flip first-round picks and some extra stuff that we don't need to get into, but flip first-round picks. So Dallas moves out of number 10. New England takes number 10. Trey Lance still available. They go with him, similar style to Cam Newton there in New England. All right, Charlie, that puts you on the clock here with the New York Football Giants at number 11.
Yeah, I got the Giants going with linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah out of Notre Dame, a tough physical linebacker who is speedy. The Giants, I mean, their defense was actually pretty solid for the most part last year. I think that if Daniel Jones has another bad year, they could be looking for another quarterback, but for the most part, just improving their strengths would be a good move for them.
I totally agree. Let's move on here. We have 3 teams from the NFC East in a row. Of course, the Cowboys moved out of that number 10 pick in our mock draft, but in the actual NFL draft, it's still the Cowboys, the Giants, and the Eagles at number 12. I have that pick, and I am going to go with Jalen Waddle, who we have already talked about, falling a little bit, if you want to call it that, in this draft here to the Philadelphia Eagles. They need a deep weapon badly. Alshon Jeffrey gone, Deshaun Jackson gone. Jalen Reagor, I think, is going to be awesome eventually, but wasn't yet. Jalen Hurts is kind of on the hot seat, I think, from the beginning. We'll see if they bring in a quarterback to Philadelphia this year. It's not Joe Flacco, but if they're able to get that rolling with Jalen Hurts and Jalen Waddle, who were teammates at Alabama, this could be real dangerous for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think this is a need. They must have. Jalen Waddle still being available is a value, in my opinion. So with the Eagles' 12th pick, I'm going to go with wide receiver Jalen Waddle out of the University of Alabama. Let's move on here to number 13, and that is Jonathan Rifkin.
Yes, Chargers on the clock. You mentioned it earlier, Sky, that you had it in an alternate draft, the Chargers trading up for the proverbial offensive tackle pick.
Switching picks, essentially, with the Dolphins.
To get to get Penei Sewell. There's still plenty of great offensive tackles. I think they can get protection, help Justin Herbert out. And Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech, who protected Braxton Burmeister very well this past season, is going to be the pick to the Chargers, should he still be there at 13.
I think that's a great one. And dude is a mauler. Christian Darrisaw is a great pick there. I like that one a lot. All right, Charlie, you're back on the clock here. Number 14, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins needs some protection up front. We got him going with Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern, the big physical offensive tackle. So he's been a huge performer for Northwestern, has definitely helped them out. And I mean, he's just a massive human being. It's just there's no way else to put it. So I think having him up front will definitely allow for Kirk Cousins to have some more time, and Cousins will he'll enjoy that.
I like this one a lot. And you know, one of the biggest attractions to Rashawn Slater specifically is, we've mentioned it, Jonathan, I think, mentioned it on Monday, that the Big Ten as a conference has a lot of great offensive linemen, a lot of great defensive linemen, and those big boys are constantly going at it. And Chase Young, just a couple years ago for Ohio State, number 2 overall pick in the draft, went up against Rashawn Slater for a few years. And I'm not going to say Rashawn Slater dominated him because he's Chase Young, but he handled his business for the most part. And when you're able to stack up against a talent like that, Joey Bosa also in that conference, you're really able to get it done. So Rashawn Slater, I think, is a great complimentary pick. There's a third tackle off the board. Vikings at number 14. At number 15, I have the back end of the New England Patriots and Dallas Cowboys trade. I'm going to go with the cornerback J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. Arguably number 1, Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, Caleb Farley, kind of 1, 2, 3 in that mix. The Cowboys need secondary. The Cowboys want secondary. Jonathan went and made this trade, so we're going to roll with it. In the actual NFL draft, if they don't make that trade, I think they're going to go with probably Patrick Surtain, which is still a cornerback. So nonetheless, the Cowboys still fill their position of need. It's not Patrick Surtain, who I think they have number 1 on their board, but it is J.C. Horn, who I think is a great complimentary prize as the number 2 cornerback off the board. So the Dallas Cowboys go J.C. Horn here. At number 16, Rifkin, why don't you get one more in here?
Yeah, let's do 16, and then that puts us halfway, right? So that's a perfect opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Take a break. All right, so at 16, Arizona Cardinals, they had just departed longtime cornerback Patrick Peterson. How do you replace a transcendent, or not transcendent, but a very solid career guy?
He was very good for a long time. Absolutely.
Yeah, he was.
Shut down corner for sure.
I don't know. Is transcendent fair? Was he a superstar?
When he came in
for a year or two, he had that superstar label to him.
He was one of the best players for a couple years, but transcendence is like for an entire career.
Yes,
transcendence like Darrell. I don't think he's quite Darrell Revis.
No, I agree. Okay, so regardless, you got to fill that spot, right? So who are you taking? Well, J.C. Horn's off the board. Patrick Surtain's off the board. Great opportunity, though, for Caleb Farley to be taken, defensive back out of Virginia Tech. Another techie, another Hokie going here in the top 16.
That's my guy.
Can't go wrong. This guy is blazing fast. He's big. He's physical. Can body up really big wide receivers, but can also stay with the smaller, speedy guys as well. So I think this will be a solid fit in that secondary for Arizona. How about a break?
Absolutely. Before we get into a break, I do want to give a shout out to Art Villa chiming in here on our question of the day. What do you want your team to draft in the first round? And before Jonathan got to his pick, Art Villa was calling for the Cardinals needing a cornerback. And sure enough, the Cardinals go ahead and get Caleb Farley in our mock draft. So stay tuned for that. We got a quick break. We are halfway through here, and I just want to make sure that we get a delicious athletic brew going on here. A couple sips. Absolutely fantastic. Athletic brew. Look, you hear I say it all the time, right? Athletic brew is the great taste of micro brews. I say it all the time. I got the Ducks hat on. I live in the bountiful Pacific Northwest. We love our craft beers up here. I love the taste, but I don't like the after effects of alcohol. I've just kind of outgrown that in my life. I don't appreciate it. Ryan doesn't drink either, but we have Athletic Brew, which is alcohol-free beers. And what's delicious about this is it tastes like an IPA. I got the IPA today. They also have the Upside Dawn, which is more of a lager style if you like the lighter, pale beer. So if you like great taste of beers, but you don't like the after effects, Athletic Brew is what you're looking for. If you go onto their website and you order up, our good friend Berger has been able to get an order in already. If you're able to get in there and you put the mention of the Ryan D. Leaf show and tell them that Ryan Leaf sent you, 10% off of your first 2 orders, athleticbrew.com for non-alcoholic beverages. Go check it out and make sure to hit it. We do have a quick comment in here live from Dodger Stadium. Ladies and gentlemen, quick update. MacGyver Leaf is about to watch Kershaw throw some nasty stuff. That is fantastic. MacGyver Leaf, son of the real Ryan Leaf, at Dodger Stadium today. So, Ryan, hope you're having a wonderful time. Enjoy the game. Give us an update. We're holding it down here for you best we can. All right, one more time. Let's revisit the question of the day. We got some new folks tuning in here live. This is the Ryan D. Leaf Show. I am your host today, Sky Guasco filling in for Ryan Leaf. He is out for today. Charlie Moss and Jonathan Rifkin with me as well.
I'm right here. Ryan D. Leaf's right here.
Well, you got to get rid of the question of the day for us to be able to. There we go.
There you go. So I'm sitting in as Skylar A. Smith hosting for today. We have Adam Rifter with our breaking news and also Ryan D. Leaf as well. Question of the day, one more time here. We'll keep going. Who do you want your team to draft in round one? Please indicate your team and the pick. All right, boys, we left off at number 16. Last pick we had was Caleb Farley of the Arizona Cardinals. Great cornerback. I picked J.C. Horn to the Cowboys over Caleb Farley, and I love Caleb Farley. But the back concerns and the injury history bothers me a little bit. So if I'm going to go with one or the other, the tiebreaker goes to J.C. Horn, but I love Caleb Farley. All right, next on the clock here, Charlie, you are on the clock. Number 17, Las Vegas Raiders. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I got the Raiders going with Zaven Collins, linebacker out of Tulsa. As we saw last year, the Raiders' defense was terrible. They just couldn't defend. I remember the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick just going off on them at the last minute of the game, which was crazy. But Zaven Collins is a good player. He's smart. He knows how to watch the quarterback's eyes and has good hands. So I think this is a good pick for them. I don't know how impactful it'll necessarily be immediately, but I think for the long term, it'll be very beneficial.
I like it a lot. Let's just hope the Raiders can make the most of it. They haven't been able to fill that role since Khalil Mack left to your Chicago Bears. All right, number 18. This might get a little bit spicy. It's the Dolphins' number 2 pick in this draft. I'm going to go with Najee Harris. Look, the reality is the Dolphins have a great defense. Yes, they can use depth everywhere. They can use playmakers everywhere. We just took, let's see, who do we take earlier on? Jamar Chase. So we have a playmaking wide receiver. We brought in Will Fuller. We have a young quarterback, building offensive line defense. Let's get a little bit fancy. Let's grab some frosting. I like Najee Harris from Alabama. I know that running backs technically, don't make or break a franchise. This guy is special, in my opinion. I think that he can come in and put a hurting on the AFC East and bring into an improving offense. I like Najee Harris with the Dolphins' second pick in the first round. Okay, number 19, we have the Washington football team up, and there is one name here, Jonathan, that we have yet to talk about, and
Don't set it up. No, I had a whole thing for it.
We're 19 picks into this draft. It is you. You are up. The Washington football team are on the clock. Go for it.
How do you erase a failure to identify our beloved Ryan Leaf?
Coach is watching. We'll just put it that way. Coach is watching. Ryan, I'll explain myself on Friday. Have fun.
There you go. This is Sky's show right now. This is the Sky DL show. All right. So at 18, look, how do you amend? How do you remedy a failed pick, a bust, if you will, in your organization at the quarterback position? I don't see a bat, so I'm going to go with it. Oh no,
Jonathan,
I was not ready for that.
Dude,
I hope Ryan is still watching, because Ryan, I have your back and I have your bat. I've got you, Ryan.
Sky's
B-word slip. I got you.
I was not ready for this.
Sky is not messing around today.
Hey, look, if you're gonna host, you're gonna host. I'm prepared. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay. Anyways, how do you got to remedy a situation? You got to make fans forget. How do you do it? Well, you go and you draft a better quarterback who's going to pan out for you. That's why the Washington football team takes Mac Jones, Alabama. If for some reason he falls to this spot and I'm the Washington football team, Kyle Allen, Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't care who you have on your roster. It doesn't matter. Mac Jones is going to be the guy. You could sit him for 4 games. They might Justin Herbert him, right? This Mac Jones might be Justin Herbert. Mac Jones might go 3 overall in the draft. Be spoken about the same way that Justin Herbert was spoken about. They could Tyrod Taylor him. Something could happen to Fitzpatrick or to Kyle Allen. This guy could start, and he could be the future of that team. I see if Mac Jones actually gets there, I could see a very Justin Herbert-like rookie season from him in terms of storylines. Performance, we'll see. But in terms of storylines, this guy has an opportunity. There's a lot of naysayers out there, and he has a lot of talent, and we know that. He's really smart. So I think that he's going to get a shot. And if he's here, Washington football team, if I'm Mark Mayhew, I'm taking Mac Jones.
Absolute value for sure. You have that value at number 19 for Washington football team who can use him to sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's a great call. Charlie, why don't you get one more in here, man? And then we're going to give a shout out to our other friends here. So we'll let you double dip here. Number 20, you've got your Chicago Bears. So again, another fandom pick. Who do you got here for the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, I got the Bears going with wide receiver Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. He's a talented player, speedy, can play a lot of different positions for that wide receiver position. Again, I don't really see it being impactful. I want the Bears to get another quarterback. I don't really see Andy Dalton being in Chicago for that long, but I think Bateman will be good. We have Allen Robinson coming back, who just signed the franchise tag, I believe, and we also got Darnell Mooney, who established himself last year. So again, that third wide receiver could be very helpful for us. But while you're watching the draft and you got your nachos and you got your chips, make sure you get some Bomb Banana on that. So I'd like to give a shout out to my big bro and his company, Bomb Banana Hot Sauce, banana-based hot sauce. It is delicious. Right here, you got the mild one, and right here, you got the where is it? All right, here we go. We got the hot one. I'm more of a mild guy. I'm not the biggest spice guy, but if spice is for you, you're going to love the red one. I put it on my eggs all the time. Make eggs every morning. It's quite delicious. But to order, go to seekthespice.com. That's seekthespice.com right there. And you get 10% off your first order when you enter the promo code LEAF, L-E-A-F, like a tree. Not how my name is spelled today. But definitely check it out. They're doing great work. My brother Johnny and his 3 friends from the University of Michigan made this hot sauce last year, and it's just been taken off since then. So definitely check it out, and you will not regret it.
Charlie, your brother Johnny, is his full name Jonathan?
Jonathan.
How come you never told me that you had a brother named with my name? I'm a little offended. I'm not gonna lie, like we're doing this for over almost 2 months now. We've had Bomb Banana as a sponsor, and I did not know. When I introduced myself to you, you didn't go, "Oh, I have a this is cool." That's what I do. What's going on here, man?
I don't know. When someone tells you their name, I'm like, "Oh, your name's that? My brother's name is that."
I'm offended.
Hey, you guys
There's
are
only
both
a finite amount of us in the world. I want to know the other ones. You know.
You guys are both my brothers. Don't worry.
Love it. Great. Good work,
a
Charlie.
Extraordinaire in my day.
All right, Joe. We got a handful of names to still get through here. Let's make it happen. I'm up at number 21 here. I'm going to go with another trade. I'm going to take the Indianapolis Colts 21st pick. I'm going to trade back, and I'm going to swap with the Green Bay Packers. They need a wide receiver. They passed on a wide receiver last year. They passed on a wide receiver the year before that. They got 4 wide receivers the year before that. None of them have really panned out outside of Devontae Adams, obviously. So I am going to take Terrace Marshall here. I did consider other wide receivers, but the big body, the deep threat, the deep speed, Devontae Adams is all world. One thing that he doesn't have is the deep speed. Terrace Marshall brings that. Another big body for Aaron Rodgers. I love this pick here. I'm going to trade out with the Colts, bring in the Packers at 21, go with Terrace Marshall. At number 22, Rifkin, you're back on the clock with the Titans.
Yeah, we typically talk Pac-12 on this show. The draft hasn't afforded us that opportunity to this point. Tennessee, though, they love to load up on those offensive linemen, especially you got to protect, obviously, what has been a rebound for their quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, but also your big boy in the backfield, Mr. Derrick Henry. So who provides that opportunity for you? Well, Mr. Elijah Vera Tucker, shout out Bishop O'Dowd High School out in Oakland, and a USC Trojan who is going to be a phenomenal draft pick at the offensive tackle position. And if he's available here, and I'm Tennessee, I'm taking this guy. Just reliable consistency up front is what I'm looking for, and that's what Elijah Vera Tucker brings.
He also is a versatile guy, so he can play offensive line pretty much anywhere, tackle or guard. They do get Taylor Lewan back as well this year, which is going to help tremendously. All right, Charlie, you're back on the clock with the Jets at number 23. What you got?
Yeah, I got the Jets going with let me pull it up real quick. Got it right here. Defensive lineman Christian Barmore out of Alabama. This guy is mean, tough, and a freak, and the Jets need some of that within their locker room. I think he's going to help them and definitely pressure opposing quarterbacks.
Love it. I'm going to move on here, make it quick. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here at number 24. A lot of people have Najee Harris falling to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That might happen, and I think that's the popular opinion. I wanted to spice it up, have some fun. Ryan will have to berate me on Friday. We'll see what happens with the Miami taking Najee Harris. But since Najee Harris is no longer available, Pittsburgh Steelers need all sorts of other help. They're going to go with offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins out of Oklahoma State. Big body, can play guard, can play tackle, either tackle. I think he's going to be a great support system with them losing Villanueva, Filer on their side there, and Pouncey in the middle. So Steelers need to rebuild up front, and I think it's going to start with Tevin Jenkins. Let's move on here to Jacksonville with their second pick. Rifkin, you're on the clock once again. You already took Trevor Lawrence as the first pick overall. You're on the clock again with Jacksonville at number 25.
Yeah, we're sticking with offense. We want to complement the great pass catching. Wow, that's hard to say. Pass catching ability of Laviska Shenault. So I'm going to take Elijah Moore, small, speedy, put him in the slot, put him in the Y. If there's a bigger defensive back matched up in man coverage, if not, you put him in the slot, you force a linebacker on him. He's going to be open downfield up the seam in cover 2 man defense all of the time. Thank you for switching that, Sky. So I think he's a good option. Obviously, you want to develop around Trevor Lawrence. Well, I think that Elijah Moore, like Laviska Shenault's going into his second year in the league. Then you get Elijah Moore. If both these guys pan out, you have your offense of the future. Basically, you just got to go find a consistent running back. But what's his name? Robinson. James Robinson wasn't that bad last year either. I think he was pretty underrated. So I think
not that honestly, bad. He was really good last year.
He was really good based on expectation. He definitely exceeded expectations. So I think Elijah Moore goes here. I'm taking Elijah Moore. If I'm Jacksonville here, why not have a young core group of studs at your playmaking positions to try and at least score some points, because can't win football games if you don't score points at the end of the day.
And Elijah Moore and Laviska Shenault could both be one of those Percy Harvin type players that Urban Meyer loved at Florida. So keep an eye on those guys. I like that pick a lot, Jonathan, with another playmaker in Jacksonville. Of course, they're rebuilding all over the field, but another weapon for Trevor Lawrence doesn't hurt. Okay, number 26, Cleveland Browns. Charlie, you're on the clock.
Got the Browns going with a Michigan man, Kwity Paye, edge rusher. This dude is a beast. I've watched every single Michigan game. He's quick. He's speedy. And he can play multiple positions on that D-line. Yes, he prefers to be on the edge. The Browns just signed Jadeveon Clowney, as we were talking about before the show. But I think he'll just be great for them. He can play so many different positions within that D-line. And what? Clowney signed only a 1-year deal. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
So he's there for the future. So I like the pick. And go Browns, man. Doghouse.
Man.
Dog pound.
Man.
Dog pound.
Dog pound. If Kwity Paye pans out, which I really, and they ran a great story on him on NFL Network yesterday that I saw, and I'm just rooting for the kid. Dominant player. If he can pan out, and they've got Myles Garrett, whether Jadeveon Clowney works or not, this is going to be a mean offensive line or defensive line. They've got a great secondary, as we mentioned. So the Browns, man, I'm telling you, the Browns are my pick in the AFC North to win the division over the Ravens, over the Steelers. I like the Brownies a lot this year. I'm going to go with those Ravens here at number 27. Take another defensive lineman. I wanted Kwity Paye. Charlie went with his boy, Michigan love there, and took Kwity Paye. So I'm going to go with Jason Owe instead out of Penn State. Big Ten, another, similar players, right? But the Ravens also lost Yannick Ngakoue, and they need to fill the defensive line as well. They've been a dominant defense for 25 years, but they slipped a little bit last year, and that cost them eventually. So they need to rebuild that defense and start with the defensive line. So I like Jason Owe to fill in for Matthew Judon, who is now on the Patriots. Okay, a couple more picks here, boys. Number 28, New Orleans Saints. Jonathan Rifkin, you're on the clock.
Saints got a spot to fill. A lot of great defensive backs in this draft, guys. Ooh, it's deep. Tip of Athletic Brew right there, Sky. I envy it.
It's just so delicious, and I don't have to worry about the after effects while I'm hosting the show.
And you don't have to worry. Yeah. Anyways, there are microbreweries right up the street from me here in San Diego. I got to go take a run at that. Anyways, of the 127 FBS football teams to play Division I football, I guess FCS is also, of the 127 FBS football teams this past season, Northwestern was number 1 in defensive rating efficiency. Why were they number 1? Well, they have a great defensive line, but they also had a great defensive back, or a couple of great defensive backs, but Greg Newsome was amongst the best in the league. I think the Saints would be foolish. I would be foolish as the GM of the Saints not to take him here. So, Yeah, I mean Newsome could be taken he could be the top defensive back for all we know in this draft. We don't know because he's going against guys in the SEC who are going against much more dynamic offenses and quarterbacks. But I like Greg Newsome here at this 28th spot with the Saints.
Great pick here. I think he's kind of falling behind the other bigger names at cornerback, but you're right. He's a playmaker. He could be dominant, and he could be a shining star out of this draft class. I agree. Okay, Charlie, you're on the back end of my trade from the Colts moving back to 29. You're on the clock with the Colts. Used to be the Packers pick. This is a trade. You're on the clock for the Colts. Who do you got here at number 29?
Yeah, got the Colts going with Jalen Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami. I heard this dude has freak talent. Don't know too much about him, but something that I was able to see is that he can be a hothead sometimes, which is why I think there is some mysterious factor about him. Again, he has the potential. He has that freak factor. It's just about keeping his composure.
Absolutely dominant at Miami. They have two great pass rushers. Russo might be a first-round pick as well, but Jalen Phillips, I think, while dynamic, does have a little bit of a temper. I don't know about a temper. He's a football player, but I think that character is why he might be falling a little bit. But strictly athletically, the dude's an animal, and the Colts can certainly use that with DeForest Buckner, up front. Okay, number 30. I'm on the clock here. We have 3 picks left, 1 each. Number 30, I wonder how Ryan feels about this one. I'm going to go with another running back here. Travis Etienne out of Clemson, running back for the Buffalo Bills. They drafted Zach Moss last year. 2 years ago, they drafted Devin Singletary. Both those guys are okay, but they're not great. I think Travis Etienne is better than both of those guys at what they do. So if Etienne is the number 1, Singletary and Moss are the number 2s on early and third downs, this Bills offense, I mean, the Bills don't need a lot of players, right? They have pretty much everything dialed up. They're getting some frosting here. Travis Etienne, explosive out of the passing game. They didn't run a lot last year because they couldn't very much. We'll see what they can do if they get a dynamic running back. Travis Etienne out of Clemson to the Buffalo Bills. Jonathan, your last pick here. Baltimore Ravens back on the clock. Again, this came just a couple days ago from the Chiefs. So number 31 here, Baltimore Ravens. Who you got?
Yeah, they're going to take a wide receiver. It's going to be Kadarius Toney. Everybody wants to know why Kyle Trask, the quarterback from Florida, who was a Heisman candidate up until week 6 of the season, has been dropping on boards. Well, it's because it's been apparent that his skill players, Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney, were really, really good, and perhaps skewed and inflated some of his numbers over the 2021 season. So Kadarius Toney, really solid wide receiver, arguably a top 3 wide receiver in this draft, which, I mean, look, wide receivers, after you get through the transcendent guy in Jamar Chase and maybe Devontae Smith, it's sort of a round table of pick 'em and the situation. So for me, Kadarius Toney in Baltimore fits well. I think he fits the complement as a possession wide receiver to the speed of Hollywood Brown, and what's his name? Willie Snead, right? Willie Snead is still there. He's also very fast.
Sammy Watkins as well. They brought in Sammy Watkins.
They did sign. He's a slot guy. So I think Kadarius Toney comes in a solid 4th option. You could even, I mean, Willie Snead isn't even that good. He could probably even, outpace Willie Snead for that Y spot in that offense. So I'm going Kadarius Toney here, and if not, you stash him, and you have a future value option off the bench as well, or a tradable asset in the future.
Final pick in the first round of our NFL mock draft here goes to you, Mr. Charlie Moss. Who you got with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, defending Super Bowl champions?
Yeah, we got the Bucs going with Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, edge rusher. This guy's good, very talented animal. It's just that the Bucs have re-signed every single one of their starters. So
literally all of them.
No, like all 22 of them.
Today, didn't he? Or
yesterday? Yeah. They're all re-signed. So Ojulari is definitely gonna get some playing time. It's just gonna be tough. Because like the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's not that they're fixing anything; they're just adding to this train. So he'll get some playing time. He's a beast, but expect him to play a lot more in years 2 or 3.
I love it. Any final words, gentlemen, on the mock draft? Anything we learned? Anything you want to talk about here before we close off for the mock draft? The NFL draft kicks off in about 24 hours here. How do you guys feel about things?
Pumped.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to be doing it in front of a live audience. Yeah, tune in on Thursday. Draft is at 6 Pacific time, right, Sky, or 5 Pacific time?
I believe it's coverage starts at 5 p.m. I don't see the first pick coming in for about 30 minutes. But
we'll probably be on at 5:05-ish. Come join us. We're going to be here on YouTube. We're also going to be simulcasting to Ryan D. Leaf on Twitter. Yeah, man, I'm pumped. Everybody, I don't know. It's going to be a cast of characters here on the RDL show tomorrow night. Who knows how many Athletic Brews, Charlie, Sky, Ryan are going to be in before the draft. So, actually, Ryan has like 4, 5, or 6 hours of radio before that. So I don't know how many Athletic Brews. He's going to have a lot of Bomb Banana. I know that. But yeah, join us for the draft. It's going to be fun on Thursday.
Gentlemen, before we get out of here today, I have to ask, and I'll write this down here. We'll check in with Ryan. Tomorrow night, we're covering the draft for day one. Over, under. I want to get you guys pick. Over, under 3. Over, under 3.5. We'll do 3.5. Over, under 3.5 teams that Ryan gives the bat to during the first round of the NFL draft, depending on their pick. Over. Under 3.5 teams.
Over.
That get to pick.
I think the over-under should be 15.
I'm taking 4 points. Any skill position player, except for Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts he's okay with.
Okay, 3 might be a little liberal. How about let's put it at 5.5. 5.5 for real. How many bets?
I'm still taking 4 points on that, but I'm with it.
Yeah.
5.5 over, and everyone's going over for how many bets?
I'm going over.
He'll probably take the over too, though.
Fair enough. Well, I don't want him to force it, because then he could be biased and then force it, and that's no good.
This is a fixed bet now.
Exactly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure to jump in as your host today. We had a lot of fun with the mock draft from the NFL round 1. Again, we will be breaking down the first round live coverage. Tune in tomorrow night about 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time. Around then, keep an eye on Ryan's Twitter, RDL Show. Follow the RDL Show on Twitter and Instagram, hashtag RDL Show. Make sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up and a comment right here on YouTube, and tune into the Believe Network podcasts to listen to the podcast version after the fact. Share that with your friends and your family. We appreciate it. Make sure to grab some Sunfare for the pregame meal for the draft. Grab a couple cases of Athletic Brew. Stay responsible. And, of course, put that Bomb Banana on your jams as you're getting down with the rest of your munchies for the NFL draft. Enjoy round 1. We'll be back with you live once again at 12:30 on Friday, but catch us tomorrow night for a special edition of the RDL Show, live coverage of round 1 for the NFL draft. For Jonathan Rifkin and Charlie Moss and our beloved host, Ryan D. Leaf, it's been a pleasure to serve you today. My name is Sky Guasco, and we will catch you on Friday. Have a great day.